Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. It's great to have you here today. Not quite sure what the final thumbnail title will be or just the title of this video, but I've got a lot of new arrivals that don't quite fit the new History on the Horizon cast. So this is just going to be new history book arrivals, that I've received over the last couple months. And some very recently, and then some that have just arrived, and they're a variety. We've got history. I've got fiction in here. I've got one fiction, which will be pretty popular for most of BookTube, but I was really stoked that I got a review copy. So, but let's start with this book, because I've been meaning to highlight this book. I was contacted by the author, and he had given me one of his previous books, a book about Richard Trisgakis, I think his last name is pronounced. He was a reporter during the Vietnam War, a soldier reporter. But I wanted to this new book by the same author, Ray Boomhauer. He wanted to see if I'd like to take a look at this new book he wrote, and it looks very deep, and it looks very serious and sobering. But let's take a look at it together, shall we? This is from High Road Books, which is an imprint of the University of New Mexico Press. I love my university presses. I love them. But we've got Ultimate Protest. Malcolm W. Brown, Thich Quang Duc, and the news photograph that stunned the world, indeed. Once you've seen that photo, you never forget it. And it's, again, by Ray E. Boomhauer. This is out right now. So let's see. What is this book about? Oh, man. The Ultimate Protest. Okay. Examines how the most unlikely of war correspondents, Malcolm W. Brown, became the only Western reporter to capture Buddhist monk Thich Quang Duc's horrific self-immolation on June 11th, 1963. Quang Duc made his ultimate sacrifice to protest the perceived anti-Buddhist policies of the Catholic-dominated administration of South Vietnam's President Ngo Dinh Diem. Okay, Brown, the 32-year-old head of the AP's bureau in Saigon, had been tipped off about the demonstration the evening before and was the only Western reporter on the scene to photograph the horrific event. Brown's powerful images were edited and distributed from the New York office to AP member newspapers in the U.S. and around the world. The reaction was immediate, although Brown noted that millions of words had been written about the Buddhist crisis in South Vietnam. His pictures possessed an incomparable impact. A group of clergymen in the United States used the photograph for full-page advertisements in the New York Times and Washington Post, decrying American military aid to a country that denied most of its citizens religious freedom. Biographer Ray E. Boomhauer's The Ultimate Protest explores the background of the Buddhist crisis in South Vietnam in the spring of 1963 that led to Quang Duc's self-sacrifice, as well as the worldwide reaction to Brown's photograph, how it affected American policy toward Diem's government, and the role the image played in the violent coup on November 1st of that year that deposed Diem and led to his assassination. The book also delves into the dynamics involved in covering the Vietnam War in the early days of the American presence and the pressures placed on the journalists. Brown and his colleague Peter Arnett, I recognize that name from old CNN days. Peter Arnett from the AP, David Halberstam from the New York Times, who also wrote I think it was The Best and the Brightest. And then Neil Sheehan, who wrote A Bright Shining Lie. And Neil Sheehan from the United Press International to get on the team and stop raising doubts about how the war was going. Brown and Halberstam shared the 1964 Pulitzer Prize for international reporting for their reporting from Vietnam. Finally, the book looks at Brown's early life, his decision to enter the journalism profession, his work in Vietnam for ABC television, his departure from Vietnam, his work as a foreign correspondent for the Times, New York Times, and his eventual return to South Vietnam in 1975 to report on the country's fall. Yes, and Ray E. Boomhauer He's written several books. Oh, The Soldier's Friend, A Life of Ernie Pyle. Dispatches from the Pacific, the World War II reporting of Robert L. Sherrod. And then the last one, which I've shown on this channel, Richard Tregaskis, reporting under fire from Guadalcanal to Vietnam. So it's interesting that Ray Boomhauer has kind of carved out a little niche of historical writing, and there's our author down there, focusing on the journalism aspect. All reporters. We've got Ernie Pyle. He's covered Robert Sherrod, Richard Tregaskis, and now a photographer, photojournalist, Malcolm Brown. I really like this direction. I wonder if his next book will also target another journalist who was, present for big events. But I highly recommend you check this out, Ultimate Protest, and check out Ray Boomhauer's work, because that is a really intriguing line of books. They're all about a certain thing. I'm all about reporters and war. So I'm fascinated by that too. So Ultimate Protest, I'm really tickled. I mean, with the topic, obviously not, but I love historians that have a line, or they've got a line of what they do, and they kind of follow it. And I like that he's just focusing on journalists. So very cool. Ray Boomhauer from High Road Books, which is a imprint of University of New Mexico Press. Okay. I've got a stack of books over here to show you guys. Another book I've been meaning to show you, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I want to get it on your radar. It's out right now. I think it came out last couple months. It almost slipped by me, but the publicist got me on the third email. And I was like, okay. This is Silk, A World History by Arathi Prasad. This is put out by William Morrow Books. It's nice. Not too big. Not too thick. But let's take a look-see here. Some 4,000 years ago, the cultivation of silkworms began, the practice spreading to the far reaches of civilization. With it came a growing obsession with unlocking silk's secrets to understand how the strongest biological material ever known could be harnessed. I did not know that about silk. Explorers and scientists, including groundbreaking women who pushed the boundaries with societal expectations, dedicated, even sacrificed their lives to investigate the anatomy of silk-producing animals. They endured unbelievable hardships to discover and collect new specimens, leading them to the moths of China. Oh, whew, you can have it. Okay. All you had to say was moths, and I'm just... Some people don't like... Oh, and I'm not a big fan of spiders, but oh my God, moths are my bête noire. They are the worst. They just come flying at you with this lunatic precision that always sometimes finds like your mouth or your nostril, or something that makes you completely flip out and scream like a little girl, even if you're a man. Okay? I'm serious. That's how bad moths are. They fly around, they bump into things, they're violent and they're intrusive, and they freak me out. Okay. All right. Let's see. The spiders of Argentina, Paraguay, Madagascar, and the mollusks of the Mediterranean. Okay, so rich with the complex connections between human and non-human worlds, silk not only peers into the past, but also reveals the fiber's impact today, inspiring new technologies across the fashion, military, and medical fields, and shows its untapped potential to pioneer a more sustainable future. The culmination of author and biologist Arathi Prasad's own lifelong passion and grounded in years of research and writing, Silk is an intoxicating read that provides an essential illumination of nature's most glamorous thread. Glamorous thread. Yeah. Oh, no, I can't. I won't look anymore. I mean, I know that they create silk. That's fantastic. That's great. But it's fascinating to know how how it's made, how it was like just turned into this mega fashion industry of it was. Ooh, and now we get more creepy crawlies. Okay, Silk by Arathi Prasad. Okay, I think if you're a biologist, you're really digging it. I might have to just not look at the pictures of the moths and stuff. That's all. All right, let's go to something else that's kind of fun. This kind of went into the realm of biology and fashion, history, and stuff like that. Material history. I think this one is already out, but I'm just going to put this on your radar. This is from Hanover Square Press. And I've always been fascinated by volcanoes, and I love watching documentaries about volcanoes, especially the volcanologists. Yeah, not the Star Trek kind, but anyway, this is a brand new book on volcanoes, and it's called Adventures in Volcano Land. What Volcanoes Tell Us About the World and Ourselves by Tamsin Mather. So technically not history, obviously, but I get to have some of these perks now and then on my channel where I get to access to books that I normally wouldn't read, but I'm interested by. So this might actually help take me into more of like a natural or history or geology or geology maybe. Maybe it'll turn me onto it. So this is a mix of memoir, travel, and popular science, charting journeys across deserts, through jungles, and up ice caps to some of the most important volcanoes around the world. In this captivating book from one of the most influential geochemists in the field, Tamsin Mather takes us along on her globe-spanning excursions from Nicaragua to Hawaii, Santorini to Ethiopia, and beyond. With warmth and lyricism, she explores the cultural roles volcanoes play throughout history and the growing and evolving science behind their formation and eruptions. Adventures in Volcano Land is an urgent and poetic exploration into the world's most mysterious geological mountains and how they make and shape our world. So that looks great. What I'm a little bit surprised by is the fact that all the pictures in this book, and there's not a ton of them, but they're all black and white. And it seems like the most color we get, obviously, it's really popping on the cover, okay? This cover is popping with color. It just seems like having some more color photos in the inserts would have been cool. But it's going to be a fun read. If you're into volcanoes, check this one out by Tamsin Mather in Hanover Square Press Books. I'm pretty sure it's out right now, like I said. All right, moving on. We're going to go to Potomac Books, which is an imprint of the University of Nebraska Press, which is a great university press. Bit more academic, and we're going back to like foreign affairs, diplomacy, and recent history. We've got a book called Pakistan and American Diplomacy, Insights from 9/11 to the Afghanistan Endgame by Ted Craig. Again, put out by Potomac Books. All right. Well, this is told from the viewpoint of a former U.S. diplomat who served twice in Pakistan. Ted Craig frames his narrative around the 2019 Cricket World Cup, a contest that saw Pakistan square off against key neighbors and cricketing powers Afghanistan, India, and Bangladesh, and its former colonial ruler Britain. Craig provides perceptive analysis of Pakistan's diplomacy since its independence in 1947, shedding light on the country's contemporary relations with the U.S., China, India, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan. With insights from the field and from Washington, Craig reflects on the chain of policy decisions that led to the fall of the Kabul government in 2021 and offers a sober and balanced view of the consequences of that policy failure. Drawing on his post-Cold War diplomatic career, Craig presents U.S.-Pakistan policy in the context of an American experiment in promoting democracy while combating terrorism. Oh, all right. And here's our author. I'm I'm interested in that. And there's our author, Ted Craig. So a mix of let's see here. Yeah, it's from his vision on the ground there, and his expertise working with Pakistan, and this is diplomats have a hard job. They have a hard job. I'm reading a massive biography right now, actually, which I'll be highlighting in our next New History on the Horizon video. But I'm reading a massive biography on the quintessential American diplomat. Who could that have been? That was John Quincy Adams. I am reading this right now for review. I've got about... Oh, wow. I have 4 days to finish it. Time flies. Okay. Well, Peg's going to try to wrap up this video so that we can get back to work. My review is due by the end of the week. But he was the quintessential diplomat. And, all right. I thought I was getting another phone call. Nope. Okay, we're good. Sorry, I was down standby for Martine. She's out and about, and I thought I might have to pause the video, but I don't. Let's continue. So yeah, diplomats, tough job, and I'm always keen to hear from people who have actually done that work and been over in those countries, and first hand-eye witnesses to what's going on and the impact of our policies. The fallout, the after effects, and all that stuff. So this is going to be interesting, and I will enjoy reading this. So this is, again, from Potomac Books, Ted Craig, Pakistan and American Diplomacy. All right. Oh, and this one, okay, I got a couple new here. Yeah, and then the rest are going to be books that are finished copies of things you've seen before on the channel. I'm not going to read the flyleaf or anything like that. I'm just going to show you the finished version. But this book came across, I think this one was just sent to me. I don't even think I asked for this one. And this is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux. And this came out, or is coming out, June 18th. So I wanted to get this to you sooner rather than later. It missed the last New History on the Horizon. I got this book after I filmed that video. But this is When the Clock Broke. Con Men, Conspiracists, and How America Cracked Up in the Early 1990s by John Gans. A lively revelatory look back at the convulsions at the end of the Reagan era and their dark legacy today. Fantastic. With the Soviet Union extinct, Saddam Hussein defeated, and U.S. power at its zenith, the early 1990s promised a kinder, gentler America. Instead, it was a period of rising anger and domestic turmoil, anticipating the polarization and resurgent extremism we know today. In When the Clock Broke, the acclaimed political writer John Gans tells the story of America's late-century discontents, ranging from upheavals in Crown Heights in Los Angeles to the advent of David Duke and the Heartland Survivalists, the broadcasts of Rush Limbaugh, and the bitter disputes between neoconservatives and the paleocon right. Gans immerses us in a time when what Philip Roth called the indigenous American berserk took new and ever wilder forms. In the 1992 campaign, Pat Buchanan's and Ross Perot's insurgent populist bids upended the political establishment, all while Americans struggled through recession, alarm about racial and social change, the specter of a new power in Asia, and the end of Cold War-era political norms. It feels like we're repeating what happened in the 90s, because we're right back there again, and we have another independent that could throw the two-party system into whatever turmoil in this coming election with RFK. Possibly. He's getting really close to earning a spot as a third candidate. I don't know. Let's see. Conspiracy theories surged, and intellectuals and activists strove to understand the middle American radicals whose alienation fueled new causes. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton appeared to forge a new vital center, though it would not hold for long. In a rollicking, eye-opening book, Gans narrates the fall of the Reagan order and the rise of a new and more turbulent America. Well, that's the truth. Far more turbulent than when I was coming up in the ranks So this is going to be good. I mean, again, when I opened up this package, I was like, oh, this looks really good. I have not heard of this one, and it just kind of snuck up onto the radar. But again, by Farrar, Straus and Giroux, comes out June 18th. I got a finished copy, so that's great. So I didn't see it in Galley at all. So this they just sent me the finished copy, and thank you, because I will read this. And I'd also like to just shout this out to to all the, not all, I've had a few people make comments or political stuff or kind of go off in the comments. It's only happened a few times. But yeah, so to the people who think that I only put out, like, which aren't a lot, because I think most of you know that I'm fairly middle of the road. I lean a little bit more conservative, because I've had people like, you bash Trump, you hate Trump, and I'm like, oh, okay, and then I got people saying, oh, you're the conservative, you're conservative, and I'm like, dude, I read both sides, hello. So this one's going to go after the Reagan era and basically demonize every person with an R after their name, or anyone who holds to like the conservative principles or whatever. So don't even say that I do that. I've shown books from both sides that are sure to offend everybody equally. I'm an equal opportunity offender here at the History Shelf. Okay. Yeah. So we'll move from that. Okay. Yeah. We're gonna go back to a university press book. I think I might have requested this one, and I am sorry that I have forgotten if I did. I think I did. So this is from Cornell University Press. Again, just kind of following on with my love of like World War II, Eastern Front kind of stuff. This sounded really good. So this is Ghosts of War by Franziska Exeler. Nazi Occupation and Its Aftermath in Soviet Belarus. It's a fairly new release. I think it came out at the... Oh no, this is a little bit older. I think the paperback might be coming out. So I'm pretty sure I did request this. So thank you, Cornell University Press. How do states and societies confront the legacies of war and occupation, and what do truth, guilt, and justice mean in that process? In Ghosts of War, Franziska Exeler examines people's wartime choices and their aftermath in Belarus, a war-ravaged Soviet republic that was under Nazi occupation during the Second World War. After the Red Army is reestablished... Boomer is crying right outside my door. I mean, the door's open, but he's just sitting there crying because his mama's not here. And that's Boomer. That is Mr. Separation Anxiety. Boomer! We think he's losing his hearing, too. So even when I call him, he's like, I don't hear you. After the Red Army reestablished control over Belarus, one question shaped encounters between the returning Soviet authorities and those who had lived under Nazi rule, between soldiers and family members, re-evacuees and colleagues, Holocaust survivors and their neighbors. What did you do during the war? Ghosts of War analyzes the prosecution and punishment of Soviet citizens accused of wartime collaboration with the Nazis and shows how individuals sought justice, revenge, or assistance from neighbors and courts. The book uncovers the many absences, silences, and conflicts that were never resolved, as well as the truths that could only be spoken in private. Yet it also investigates the extent to which individuals accommodated, contested, and reshaped official Soviet war memory. The result is a gripping examination of how efforts at coming to terms with the past played out within and at times through a dictatorship. So I thought that premise was unique enough that I wanted to take a look at this. Let me see if there's anything I can show you in here. Black and white photos throughout. We got some maps. I'll show you the contents. We've got Chapter 1, Contested Space in East European Borderland before 1941. At the Heart of Darkness, Wartime Choices, 41 to 44. The Moment of Return, post-1944. Determining Guilt, the Soviet Politics of Retribution, Loss, Grief, and Reckonings, Personal Responses to the Ghosts of War. So this looks really great. So a unique new release from Cornell University Press, Ghosts of War. Check that out now. Okay, and then I don't know if I have time for these. Let me show you. Fans of Penguin Classics, I'm not sure if I showed you this, but I've kind of gotten on the Penguin Classics mailing list, which I'm really happy about. Last time I showed you a Penguin Classics was the Penguin Book of Pirates. But they have a new Penguin Classics out now, and this is perfect for also for this channel, History Shelf. And we've got the Penguin Classics, the literature of Japanese American incarceration. All right, edited by Frank Abe and Floyd Chung. So yeah, this just came out this year. It came out this year. The literature of Japanese American incarceration. It says here, this anthology reclaims and reframes the writing produced in response to the actions of the United States government during World War II to forcibly remove and incarcerate 125,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry who shared the same race as a wartime enemy. Through fiction and nonfiction, prose and poetry, you will hear a collective voice telling of the shared struggle to retain personal integrity in the face of persistent injustice and increasingly dehumanizing government edicts. The selections here favor the pointed over the poignant and the unknown over the familiar, with several new translations among previously unseen works. Together they form an epic narrative of a singular vision of America's past, one with disturbing resonances with the American present. So, another Penguin Classics, this time nonfiction, to add to your collection if you are a Penguin Classics collector. Out now. All right. I'm going to save the big book for last. I'm telling you right now, don't go anywhere. Because Peggy has a very mainstream popular book to show you at the very end. And you're going to be like, Peg, what does this have to do with history? Peg, are you going to read it? Peg, will you tell us what you think? I might, if you want me to. I might save it for, well, I'll tell you in a second. Okay, a couple of books here that are really fun. Another publisher contacted me about this book, and it looked pretty fun. You've got like young kids coming up in school, and you want them to kind of help them to like love history and find history fun. Now this is a part 2, but check out this author's work and check this one out along with the first book. But this is Light Bulb Moments in Human History, Book 2, Peasants to Periwigs, from Peasants to Periwigs, Scott Edwin Williams. This is put out by Kronos Books. I think this is a UK publisher. I think this was sent overseas to me, which is, wow, that cost them some money. Really fun, like cartoon illustrations, but something to kind of like, look, what is this guy doing? Dying hard in the Alhambra. Yippee-ki-yay, hijo de puta. Oh, no, this is going to be silly. Oh, my gosh. Oh, Boomer's losing his mind downstairs. I'm not sure what this is doing here, but we're talking about Arabic numerals. There's a lot of funny things in here. Yes, light bulb moments. So it says here, hang on, let me stop the dog from barking. Okay, we're back, sorry. Dog interruptions. Let's see, Light Bulb Moments in Human History, From Peasants to Periwigs, continues the humorous and informative series exploring the big ideas that have shaped humanity. Packed with laughs and fascinating insights, it documents the progression from the boozy peasants of the Middle Ages to the bewigged boffins of the scientific revolution. Along the way, you'll find answers to burning questions such as, why did a mob of peasants follow a divinely inspired goose to the Crusades? Was Captain Cook really devoured by cannibals, or was it just a terrible misunderstanding? What the hell is a periwig, and why did the best-dressed 17th century men insist on wearing them? I might have to look that up right after this. So Scott Edwin Williams, it says, so the book by Scott Edwin Williams is not the history you were taught in school. Mm-hmm. Oh, this book has a positive message. It demonstrates that despite all evidence to the contrary, our world is actually getting better. So grab a mug of mead, slap on your finest periwig, and dive into the rich history of human ingenuity. So yeah, I might want to get the first one too, but it looks like a really funny read. Yeah. Look at this cartoon. I don't even know what's happening, but it cracks me up. Don't make devil's horns at me, you little... The devil's horn hand signal isn't as metal as we thought. Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you want history and a laugh, check out Lightbulb Moments by Scott Edwin Williams. This is great stuff right here. You got to have a laugh sometimes with all this heavy history, right? I'll save this for maybe historical fiction. I'll leave that out. And what is this one? This one is a new book that someone sent me. It is a novel. So we're going to end with fiction. I've got two here. Okay. This is a brand new book. Brand new novel out called The Dunning-Kruger Effect by Andras Stupendal. It's put out by Atria Books. Okay. It sounds interesting. So let's take a look here. Convinced of his own moral and intellectual superiority, the nameless protagonist of this exuberant novel is also paralyzed by self-consciousness. Yet, inspired by Stephen King's On Writing, he decides to dedicate 4 hours a day to working on his own novel over the course of one summer. He must also balance his creative goals with a part-time government job and looking after his girlfriend's possibly brain-damaged Pomeranian. Too bad he's uninspired by his job, almost kills the dog, and realizes his novel is slowly morphing into misguided fan fiction about French writer and provocateur Michel Houellebecq. Yeah. Even when he's alone, he can't help but pontificate, making over-the-top cases for and against all manner of culture war flashpoints, referencing everyone from Spike Lee to Grumpy Cat. He obsesses over identity politics and veers into dangerous territory as he and his androgynous girlfriend engage in sexual role play. All right, well. He's an emblem of all the follies of our age, happily unaware that in his refusal to be ordinary, he's becoming a walking cliche of misguided manhood. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a portrait of a person belatedly coming of age, a blistering takedown of a privileged man who believes he's a revolutionary. Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard of Andres Stupendal before. Apparently he had a debut novel, Masquerade, but there's our author. So a light little novel. I'm thinking this would be great for some summertime reading on the patio, which is coming together. We've got some more furniture for it. We got a new glider and an umbrella. Soon I'll be reading outside, and maybe can finally make some videos outside. Do a little vlog effect, you know. But the Dunning-Kruger effect sounds like a good summertime read. All right, guys, so now we're ending with the final book, which actually, in a weird way, ties into this last one. I was a big fan of this guy when I was a kid, okay, and a young teenager. And maybe even into my early 20s. Then I came back around and I chilled out on him. And then I kind of revisited him again in my late 30s, early 40s. Okay, so I've got some problems with this writer. Yes, that's right. I am teasing the hell out of this. So you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. I liked him when I was younger, and I think there's a reason for that. I also think he doesn't age well just because if he's trying to write about current events, or not current events, but like current culture, he's sadly stuck back in the 50s and 60s, even 70s sometimes, with his musical references, his turns of phrase. It's just, they ring really weird sometimes. So I don't know. I think he's too old to try to change his ways. But anyway, I've always loved his short stories. I think his short stories are the best. They are by far better than many of his novels. And he's got a new collection of short stories. And so I asked if I could get a review copy. And good people at Scribner said, hell yes. And so guess what I'll be reading? At some point this summer, I got a Stephen King book. You Like It Darker. Daisy! Oh, she's making these noises eating this marrow bone. Stephen King, You Like It Darker stories. And I love this cover, by the way. I just think it's so... That's one of the better covers I've seen on his books recently. And so I'm kind of excited to dip back into Stephen King's short story world. And you know, I do enjoy horror. I mean, this is the history shelf, but you know, I like scary movies and I like scary books from time to time. And I was like, let's do it. So let's see here. This is a collection of 12 stories that delve into the darker part of life. 12 new stories. Okay, let me start again. You like it darker? Fine, so do I, writes Stephen King in the afterword to this magnificent new collection of 12 stories that delve into the darker part of life, both metaphorical and literal. King has, for half a century, been a master of the form, and these stories about fate, mortality, luck, and the folds in reality where anything can happen are as rich and riveting as his novels, both weighty in theme and a huge pleasure to read. King writes to feel the exhilaration of leaving ordinary day-to-day life behind. And in You Like It Darker, readers will feel that exhilaration too, again and again. Let's see here. I'll give you just a little sampling of some of the stories here. Two Talented Bastards explores the long-hidden secret of how the eponymous gentlemen got their skills. In Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, a brief and unprecedented psychic flash upends dozens of lives, Danny's most catastrophically. In Rattlesnakes, a sequel to Cujo, Get Out of Dodge, a short story that is a sequel to a novel. In Rattlesnakes, a grieving widower travels to Florida for respite, and instead receives an unexpected inheritance with major strings attached. In The Dreamers, a taciturn Vietnam vet answers a job and learns that there are some corners of the universe best left unexplored. The Answer Man asks if prescience is good luck or bad, and reminds us that a life marked by unbearable tragedy can still be meaningful. King's ability to surprise, amaze, and bring us both terror and solace remains unsurpassed. Each of these stories holds its own thrills, joys, and mysteries. Each feels iconic. You like it darker? You got it. All right. So, yep. I'm sure a lot of you out there in BookTube land who don't watch my channel, who don't even know me, everyone's all over this book probably and reading it. So, thought I'd give it a whirl too. So, let me know what you think about these books. New history arrivals on a Monday, history mail, whatever you want to call this. It's just more books. It's more history books, a couple of fiction. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you the finished copies. Okay, real quick. So these are out right now and you can get them, but I got a nice finished copy of The Hamilton Scheme, An Epic Tale of Money and Power in the American Founding by William Hoagland. This is also by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. Nice big chunky book. Again, I've shown these on the channel before and read about them, so you should be able to see them. Oh, this book will also be featuring in my D-Day month. I'll be dipping into it. I'm already reading steadily on the Stephen Ambrose D-Day book, but I've got The Light of Battle, Eisenhower, D-Day, and the Birth of the American Superpower by Michael Paradis. I got a nice finished copy of that from, Mariner Books. Nice. The last time I had had a galley, a bound galley of this book, so it didn't look the way it should have, and I want to show you in all its beauty. This is a beautiful book. A Gentleman from Japan, The Untold Story of an Incredible Journey from Asia to Queen Elizabeth's Court by Thomas Lockley, put out by Hanover Square Press. So yeah, just a beautiful, beautiful final copy. The bound galley, when I was done with that, it just went into the recycle. But this is going to be so good. Oh, and then of course I got a finished copy of Jeff Shara's new book, The Shadow of War, because I was working off of an arc. But we had the nice interview recently on the channel last month. So happy to do that. And yeah, The Shadow of War. Now I've got a finished copy to add to my shelf of other Jeff Shara books. All right, she's home now. I got a finished copy now of White Poverty, How Exposing Myths About Race and Class Can Reconstruct American Democracy by Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II with Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove. Yeah, I'm very interested in this topic. When I was showing you the print review copy of this, a lot of this kind of stuff was missing. And I do want to hop into reading this because it sounds really good. So White Poverty, and this is from Live Right, folks at Live Right. And then I didn't know I was going to get a finished copy of this from Penguin Press, but thank you very much. And it's a beautiful finished copy, you guys. It's going to be a lot of joy reading this. Night Flyer, Harriet Tubman and the Faith Dreams of a Free People by Tia Miles. Again, a Penguin Press hardcover. And I have shown this on the channel before, so I have read about it, but you can't have too many Harriet Tubman books. I believe she's going to be gracing the $20 bill soon, right? Yeah, this book looks way better in the finished copy as opposed to the arc. Oh yeah, because we've got all these beautiful things in the center here, these beautiful artistic color photographs. Oh. Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. So a beautiful Penguin Press edition. In fact, the hardcover without the jacket is just gorgeous. Look at that. Look at the gilding in there. Or the embossed. So those are my finished copies of books you've seen before. I am slowly getting my new project together, getting books put away. We've got some new bookcases up, and I'm still filling them. So these are all going to go up on the new bookcases, and I'll try to take a video of that soon for you guys. Okay, so now we're at 43 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up and get this uploaded, but I hope you're having a great start to your week. Thanks for joining me here on the History Shelf. I hope you come back real soon. So everyone out there, take care and be well. Bye-bye.